So welcome to my most disappointing games of 2023. Yes, you saw the thumbnail. The thumbnail was this. And this is how I felt when I played some of these games this year. And it's crazy because this year has been filled with so many incredible games. And yes, not all of them can be stunning gems. Some of them can be very disappointing. I will ask you guys before I begin, what are some of your most disappointing games that you've played this year? Games that you aspired to enjoy, but they just didn't make it. They missed the mark and they became disappointing for you. Let me know down below. Now, I also want to say, I do not hate any of these games, and I do not hate any of the developers that worked on any of these games. I mean, some of these games are worked on by really great people who are just trying to do their job, and sometimes it just doesn't come together in the package, or the person receiving it doesn't quite like the present they've received. And that's what it's been like for some of these games.
Did you not just see me take out that gnarly beast?
Okay, let's start off with the first game here. Man, I get no pleasures in doing this at all. The first game is Loop 8, Summer of Gods. First of all, I want to say, what a title! That sounds fantastic. That's what originally led me into the game, looped me into the game. I was like, this sounds fascinating. Well, you know, what a crazy title. So Japanese, I love it. The next thing I saw was the box art. And I fell in love with the box art, just looking at it going, look at this. It's a beautiful painting on the cover. And I just want to say, Xseed creates some of the greatest box arts for their games and beautiful packaging. Big props to them for this. Absolutely, their packaging is great. It lured me in. It got me in. And then I started to play this game. And I was really disappointed.
ものすごく偉そうだけど。
Now the story is crazy. It should have kind of set me off in the beginning, is that you play as the main protagonist and you're living on a space station in 1983. And guess what? The space station gets blown up by a demon and you come down to Earth and you come down to a Japanese town. Now, your thing is you come in and you make brand new friends and you do this over and over and over again. It loops 8 times. It's like Groundhog Day. You're doing the same thing over and over and over again. And I'm like, okay, you know, I kind of went in with the wrong idea. I thought it was going to be like Famicom Detective Club, which is a game I really love. I love those point and click kind of adventures. I like those style of games. I really do a lot. So I kind of went in thinking it was going to be a game like this. And it was not. It definitely was not. And what kind of got me was the dialogue was very, very boring with all of the characters. They're just going back and forth, back and forth. And I know in a lot of Japanese games, there's a lot of bloated dialogue at times. There definitely was in Ys 8, and there has been in many other games. And I'm just like, okay, I'll deal with it for sure. And the storyline is not that interesting. The characters are not that interesting. The graphics, I was like, oh my God. Like as my character's running through the school, it's just chugging along. And I'm like, this is not good. I'm not immersed into the game at any point. You go into town, there was an arcade. I thought, oh my God, this is going to be incredible. It's not. I thought it was going to give me that Shenmue vibe. Shenmue's set in 1986. This is set in 1983. I thought, oh, it's kind of cool. We're going back to that time period. A time when I was 9 years old in 1983. Even the nostalgia there couldn't save it. Nothing about this game was interesting or fun. It just left me feeling flat. And yes, you can bond with your characters and there's some interesting combat, but as soon as you get to know everybody and you kind of know what's going on, it resets and you're doing it again. And it's just that gameplay loop that sent me for a loop and made me lose my mind, and I just shut down. It's just a game that I think a lot of people might enjoy. It just wasn't for me. That's realistically what it was, but overall, a very disappointing game for me in 2023. Next up is a game that I played a little bit after release. I didn't see any reviews and I thought, you know what? I'm going to get this game. I'm going to play it. I'm going to make up my own mind about it and to see what it's really all about. And that game is Forspoken by Square Enix. Yes, I was like, this is very interesting. Another kind of action adventure, kind of role-playing game. Count me in. And then we get to the game itself and we start with it. And here's the thing that I'm going to say. It's the main character that takes me out of this game. And the reason why is your main character is not a great person.
Not my best angle.
She's hanging around in New York City with some really bad people. They're doing criminal activities. In fact, the game starts off at a trial. You're getting sentenced because you've been doing some bad things in New York City, stealing and all this kinds of stuff. And I'm like, it's really hard to go in and enjoy your character when your character is automatically not good. And I know this is a redemption story, which we get to later on, but it's not a good place to start. And so we start in the real world, and it's kind of like really dark and dingy and really down, and you're not really feeling that uppity with it. It's like, oh, okay, we're just kind of dealing with this story. It's kind of dark and all of this. And she's finally kind of getting her life together. She has all this money, and it's all burnt down. And then, this is the bit that really drives me crazy. She's sent to this other world. And it's such a jarring disposition of where you're from to where you go. I'm like, this is so jarring for me. And, you know, if the whole game took place in the real world as that style of adventure, I think I could have gotten with that. It just feels like two very different games. And then all of a sudden I'm in this fantasy world running around, and it's gorgeous and it's fantastic. And I'm like, this is so interesting at this point. And I'm like, did we really need that whole opening bit? I honestly would have liked this main character just to be inhabiting the world, running around, being a part of it.
Gotcha!
I would have enjoyed it a lot more. And I want to say there's a lot to enjoy about this game. Like, once you get to the fantasy world, the spells that you have, fighting monsters, running up and down, buildings, that's interesting stuff, and stuff that I really actually enjoy quite a bit. But here's the other thing that takes me out of the game. And I've said it in another video I made. In my real life, I swear, I'm not against swearing. I'm not one of these people at all. In fact, in the show's history, I used to swear all the time back then. And I was like, I hit a point where I'm like, no, I got a lot of different people, a lot of younger people watching. I don't want to be dropping the F-bomb every single time. That's not what I personally want to do.
Is that a f***ing dragon?
So I'm not against swearing. But this game, man, takes it over the top, and I'm not gonna play it in any of these clips.
Is there nowhere that's not, like, broken by this shit?
But your main character's dropping the F-bomb all the way from the Earth world to the fantasy world. In the Earth world, swearing all the time, F-bomb, F-bomb, F-bomb.
Get the f*** back here, Frey! Where the f*** are you, Frey?
We get to the fantasy world, F-bomb, F-bomb.
Oh yeah, I'm talking to a f***ing cuff.
I swear to God, asshole, show yourself. Well, this place is fun.
Every single thing gets sworn on. Everything, nothing. She's not happy with anything. She seems like she's angry at everything that's going on in the real world, in the fantasy world.
So much for clean air and bright skies.
And as a player, trying to relate to the character, you're just kind of going, all right, like, do we have to swear about everything? It's weird because I've never played like a fantasy game where my character's running around with a sword and they're going, F you, F that, F this. You're like, you're so mad. And I think that's what it comes off as. Your main character comes off as being very mad. And yeah, it's upsetting because the fantasy world elements that are there when you're running around doing all that stuff is really fun, but the game just doesn't come together for me. What did you guys think of Forspoken? Let me know down below.
Oh, bring it, you mangled monsters.
Now, the next game, I heard that it was a bad game. In fact, it was getting memed on online. Everybody was talking about it. And because I only talk usually about games that I think I'm interested in or things I'm going to enjoy, I thought, you know what, wouldn't it be funny for me to get this game and play it and see how I really feel about it? Maybe everybody's really overreacting. And that game is The Lord of the Rings Golem, right here. Was everybody overreacting to this? Oh no. No, they weren't. This game was absolutely terrible. I couldn't believe it. Right from the beginning. In the beginning, you have a beautiful storyline showing what's going on, and then you cut to some in-game cinemas, and Gandalf is there. And I'm looking, and the lighting is off, and it's just jaggies all around the characters, and I'm like, oh no, this is really bad. And you know what's so crazy? The first level of this game, you just have to play it because it is so underwhelming. Your character, they changed his voice. I understand they had to do that for the game. You can't get the main voice actor back, Andy Serkis. That's not happening.
Must go back hungry again.
And then you look at the character himself and you'll see the eyes and you're like, oh no, there's something really wrong here. and then you get in, and I gotta say, the graphics aren't horrendous to begin with, but it's just the camera has a hard time catching up, or it feels that your character's running too fast. The gameplay feels off.
Why?
And then you're climbing up, branches or the side of cliffs and stuff, and you're getting lost into the vines, and then it's just very unresponsive, and then you're actually jumping on the backs of characters and like strangling them, killing them, and none of it feels good. And even in the second level, you start off and you're chained up, you run out, and you just fall straight down. And it's just like every single thing was very ill-conceived and not really well thought out. Like, if I was a playtester of this game, I'd be like, hey, I have about 150 notes of the first level alone. And that's just to start. Let's get that fixed and then we'll keep on going. It just seemed that the game was going against itself, and I really feel bad for everybody who worked on the game, because I know there's a lot of good people that worked on this game, and there's just the direction of it wasn't good, and the level designs weren't good or thought out, and sometimes that just happens. It's just one of those things. I'm not angry at this game. I just think it's really interesting how you can have a AAA money and all that, and have it all come together, and for it to not work. That can happen. It's just like movies. So many people aspire to make a good movie, and then you put it together and you're like, well, that's very different than how I thought. I made a movie and it was very different than how I originally conceived it as well. I don't like this. But you know what? The effort was there. They tried and they failed miserably. And it's one of those things that will always be a funny spot in my PS5 collection.
And that's how far you ever went into Mordor.
Okay, the next game isn't as funny to me because there's another game getting memed on. The Metacritic scores were really bad for this game, and I'm like, I've got to play it. I've got to play it. And that is Skull Island, Rise of Kong. Yes, King Kong is back on Skull Island. What could possibly go wrong? Well, it would seem everything. And it would seem that this game took a year to be created by the development team, which is just an atrocity. No game of this caliber should be done in a year, and it shows on every single fact. In the waterfalls in this game, when you see the waterfalls, you're like, what happened? This is like a PS2 era game. Running around, Kong's moveset, just Kong's look in general. When Kong bangs on the ground, the power effect that goes out seems like a graphical glitch. It doesn't seem that it's part of the game. And just the boring enemies, wave after wave of these little dinosaurs, and you're smashing them over and over and over again. It's not compelling. And I even said in the other video I made on this game is that I honestly could design better levels than this. Nothing seemed exciting. You'd go around a corner and you're like, oh, is there something secret over here? No, it's just a dead end. And you're like, wow, like what were they thinking when they made this? There was no thought process in any of the enemies or gameplay. Nothing is fun, nothing is enjoyable, nothing is kinetic or interesting, nothing is going on for this game. And I really want to say something. I'm kind of getting to the end of this video. I honestly did hate this game. I really did. And I said, hey, I don't hate any of these games. Yeah, you know what? I kind of did hate this. I was playing it going, this is really horrible. I mean, some of the graphics, I'm looking around and I'm like, I can't believe this came out as nearly a full price game in 2023. Everything that could go wrong for this game went wrong for it. And it's one of those games that, unlike Golem's kind of it's got a little bit more going for it than this, which is strange. This game will be part of the collection, and I'll look at it and I'll always get that kind of icky feeling of playing it going, everything's going wrong, nothing is good in this game. My God, guys, what are some disappointing games that you played this year? These are some of mine, and I really wanted to enjoy some of these games. I mean, Forspoken I really want to enjoy. Loop 8 had everything going for it. An anime style game, adventure game, that sounds amazing. And nothing was amazing about it for me. In fact, all of these games were disappointing for me in 2023.
Gotta find a way out of here.
Guys, let me know what some disappointing games were for you in the comments below. So anyways, guys, until next time.